Hey everyone, what's happening? Lex back today for another Brawl Stars video, and today I'm going to be helping you know which brawlers you should and should not be playing in the upcoming 15-win challenge, the first one of 2021. Okay, first off, let's just get this out of the way right here, right now. Do not play with randoms if you can possibly help it, which you can because you probably have some friends. Play with them, and if you don't have any friends, first off, sad times. Second off, you can use the looking for team feature. It's going to place you with other players right around your trophy level, so it's going to give you insanely better chances of making it further into this challenge than you would if you just play with randoms. So with that being said, it is going to be a little bit tougher this time because you can only lose 3 times. 3 losses and you are out, 15 wins and you make it all the way to the end. So the first set is going to start off in Brawl Ball in Super Stadium. Really great map. There's a lot of brawlers that can work here. Now, some of your best options that you can play here according to not only, stats like actual win rates, but also with a little bit of help from Spin LC. If you guys don't know Spin, you be sure to go check him out. The best comps you're going to find here are something like Jessie, Nita, and like an Amber or a Sandy. Now, Jessie is going to be in a lot of these picks because she is really strong right now. Even with the nerf that she got, she is still a very strong brawler, and historically, she's always been good on this map anyway, so great choice to have Jessie in your team comp for Super Stadium. Now, Nita is going to be able to hold down a lane, always using that bear. She can deal with some of the tanks. Nita's a great choice here as well to go in one of the lanes, probably the right-hand side. As for Amber or Sandy, probably over on the left-hand lane is going to be the best bet, although Amber can probably play either place right now because Amber's also really strong right now. Now, if you don't have Sandy or Amber, or conversely, if you just would rather have a little bit more meat on the field, BB or Jackie would make a great choice. Some alternatives you can play in the middle of the field here are going to be someone like Poco and, of course, Amber, Max, Mr. P, Colonel Ruffs, or even Ems. All of those are going to be great mid-brawlers. There's a lot of brawlers that can work really good on this map, so above all, play somebody that you're familiar with, somebody that you're confident with. Some other good options here in the lanes are going to be brawlers like Jackie, BB, Frank, Edgar, Spike, and Tara. I bet you early on you're going to be seeing a lot of the tankier brawlers just because players with lower trophies are probably more comfortable playing those brawlers, so be prepared to deal with some tanks, and for that reason you're going to want to stay away from brawlers like Crow, Tick, and Piper. Now, after you beat the first set, you're going to be moving on to Hot Zone. The first time Hot Zone is going to be in these championship challenges, and the map is going to be Dueling Beetles. Most maps usually in Brawl Stars are kind of have 3 lanes, but this one is very defined. It's like the mid with the grass and then those 2 lanes on the side. It doesn't leave a lot of room for a ton of different brawlers to really play in here, so the selection is going to be a bit more limited, and I bet you're going to be seeing a whole bunch of brawlers like Amber, Jessie, and Penny. Probably Jessie and Penny are the 2 best brawlers for this map, but Amber is just so good. She can hold down one of those lanes really, really well. Penny, she can drop her turret down like on the far right-hand side behind that little nook right there, or even in the grass behind you. Either one is a really good spot for her turret. I would use Captain's Compass with Penny because somebody charges into the middle there, you're going to be able to use that gadget and have just tons of area denial with balls of fire right there. Now, if you don't have Amber unlocked, a little more free-to-play friendly comp would be to bring Tick. Tick is really good on this map. The fact that he can cover all 3 of those lanes and all 3 of those choke points and be able to hold them for a pretty long time with the duration of his mines makes Tick really good on this map. Now, some alternatives for those brawlers would be ones like Ems, Pam, BB, Mr. P, and Sandy. Mr. P is really good because he can scout the area in the grass right behind the walls with his bounce shots, as well as the constant pressure for the porters makes Mr. P a really good pick. Pam does a great job just because of the massive area denial and the support and utility for her team as well. She can hold down that middle pretty darn well, and especially a brawler like BB, if you're going to be using her, be sure to use the shield star power because the speed doesn't really benefit you that much. The shield definitely will. This map, it's pretty easy to lose position, and if you lose position to a team that has multiple spawners on the field, it's going to be really rough to be able to get back into position and overtake that, so be sure to play a little bit more conservative and not to get team wiped and lose your position completely. You can also use a comp like Byron and Double Tank. Something like Byron, BB, and Rosa would be really strong. Byron's, of course, going to stay back and just heal whichever tank needs the healing the most, and they can hold their positions and keep the other team out of the hot zone. You can get, counter comped a little bit with this, and Byron is like the critical piece. If he goes down, then you might be in trouble, but it is a very solid option. Now, some brawlers you do not want to play are Crow, Shelly, and Piper. Piper and Crow, they're just too squishy, especially with other turrets. Crow cannot deal with any kind of spawners really at all, and you're going to see some spawners here. Same thing with Piper. It's going to take multiple shots from her to kill those spawners, especially like a Mr. P's turret coming in, so stay away from those brawlers. For the third set, you're going to head into Heist, and the map is Hot Potato, which is a really great and fun map. Now, the best comps that you can use here are going to be something like Amber, Rico, and BB. Now, Rico's going to be in the mid, using those bounce shots to scout out the grass and hold back the brawlers coming down the middle, but he's also really flexible in the fact that he can move over to the right or the left-hand sides to help your teammates win their lane as well. But if you're not really good with Rico, or if you just don't feel comfortable using those bounce shots a lot, a really good alternative for him would be 8-Bit. Using 8-Bit's speed, star power, and his teleport, it's a really, really good, solid option. 8-Bit's really strong right now. He's got the range, he's got the damage, and with his turret, he's got the speed as well. So be sure to leave that turret in more of a defensive spot. You don't want it going out because you're really going to be relying on that extra speed, and if you don't have that, you're not going to be as big of a help to your team. And speaking of 8-Bit, probably the best free-to-play comp that you can play here is something like BB, 8-Bit, and Colt. Now, BB's going to go over onto the right-hand lane. Colt's probably going to go into the left, and 8-Bit's going to hold down the center. All a really great, solid option for the free-to-play players. Some other alternatives that you can use on this map are brawlers like Daryl, Max, Spike, Jesse, Brock, and Nita. And if you're going to bring a thrower, which throwers are pretty decent on this map, Barley is by far the best thrower on this map, but Spike is really interesting on this map because he's a really great defensive option as well, especially scouting out that mid. Your first role as Spike here is to play defense and then follow up on offense as needed, but brawlers like Jesse and Nita work really well, especially Jesse in the mid. She can pop down that turret using the energized star power, bouncing her shots off her turret, dealing damage, putting pressure. Jesse's really good. If you're not getting the picture yet, Jessie is really, really strong in this meta, so use her freely pretty much throughout this entire guide. Some brawlers you do not want to play here are brawlers like Crow, Terra, Byron, and Mortis.
Man, what you talking about? I be playing Mortis all day, yo.
Seriously, dude, not a good option. He's always walking around 7% at a time, yo. 7%. Don't play Mortis. Seriously, don't. The fourth set is going to be in Gem Grab and Hard Rock Mine, which is a classic Brawl Stars map, probably the quintessential Gem Grab map. And for this, probably the best brawlers that you can play here are 8-Bit, Amber, and Mr. P. Once again, 8-Bit, as you can see, he's so good on this map. You can use his turret with the speed. Again, drop it right behind the walls, right by your spawn, and it's going to, extend so far that you're going to have lots of room to run. Now, if the other team doesn't have a good option to be able to kill that turret right behind the walls right in front of you, you can drop it down there and you give yourself a little more freedom to run around. But if they have something like a Mr. P who can just bounce the shots over the wall, if they happen to bring a thrower, which probably isn't the greatest here, you might be careful with that turret because you really do need that extra speed. Mr. P is probably best played over on the left-hand side where you can scout out the enemy's walls right there by bouncing them over, as well as the long reach into the grass on the left-hand lane. And Amber, she can flex quite a bit of different areas, but with her stopping power, all the damage and the range that she brings, she's really great on the right-hand side and a wonderful addition to any team comp here in Hard Rock Mine. Now, if you don't have Amber or you just don't feel real comfortable playing with her, another really great free-to-play friendly option here is 8-Bit, Pam, and Rosa. Now, that's a lot of beef on that field. I mean, and a lot of damage. Pam, if the brawlers get up close, tons of damage. 8-Bit can deal that damage from range. And of course, Rosa, she can go pretty aggro, get into the grass on the other side, and really hold back the other team for a long time while... if they do get past you, there's just tons of damage and control waiting for them in Pam and 8-Bit. So 8-Bit, Pam, and Rosa is also a really great team comp to bring into Hard Rock Mine. Some alternatives for the mid on Hard Rock is going to be brawlers like Byron, Piper, Jesse, and Poco. Now, Piper is probably the second best mid on this map, and if you're really good with her, she can probably be one of the best, especially paired with 8-Bit. If she's in that extra damage from the booster and she's using ambush star power, she can deal like I think it's upwards of 4,000, hit points per shot. That's a lot of damage, so watch out for brawlers like that. Some other alternatives for the lanes that you can use are brawlers like BB, Rico, Spike, Sprout, Colonel Ruffs, Sandy, and even Leon. Leon's pretty good on this map as well, so if you're a big Leon fan, this is your time to shine. Now, if you do play a thrower on this map, be sure to use Sprout. Probably over in the left-hand side, he can bounce shots off the walls down in that lane, as well as he can cover the mid and over into the enemy's team grass too. He does a really good job on this, so if you're going to play a thrower, by all means, play Sprout on this map. He's very good and will do a great job for you. Some brawlers you do not want to play here are, once again, Crow, Dynamite, and Mortis. Now, Mortis isn't the worst option ever here. If he can get into the grass on the other side and really be super aggro, he can be decent, but it really counts on the other team having brawlers that don't have a ton of hit points or up close stopping power, which might be pretty difficult here on Hard Rock Mine. So if you've made it this far in the challenge, and hopefully you do, you're going to be greeted with Bounty and Canal Grande as the final set in the championship challenge. One of the best team comps that you can play here is a very, very annoying one, and that would be Mr. P, Sprout and/or Tick, and Jackie. Now, you can actually go double throwers in Mr. P and just go full on control and have tons of area denial and as well as the extra porters spawning. However, if you do that, you do run the risk of being overpowered by the enemy team because brawlers like Sprout and Tick, they don't do really well when somebody's charging them. Neither does Mr. P. So be careful of that. Be, at least cognizant if you do go double throwers in Mr. P. It's a good comp. It really is. But that's why I put Jackie in there as probably the one that I would suggest because she can hold off an entire area of that grass. Now, if you do use a comp like, Mr. P, a thrower, and Jackie, I would send the thrower, preferably Tick, over to the right-hand side by himself while the other two brawlers move over to the left. Tick can stay back at quite a range, covering that entire grass and the choke points, so he can provide a lot of value right there. But if you do use Tick, again, be sure to use his brand new gadget that protects you. That way, if somebody kind of really rushes you, it's going to give you some protection from that brawler that's coming at you really hard. A very good classic combination for this map as well, it would be Mr. P, Tick, and Brock. Or you could play Piper as well. Personally, I like Brock better just for the grass breaking capabilities from, a distance. But Piper can work too. It's whatever you're most comfortable with. Some alternatives here that you can use are brawlers like Byron, BB, Sandy, Poco Double Tank works as well as Colonel Ruffs and Penny. Penny is actually one of my favorites on this map, but she's lost a little bit of her luster with the, inclusion of brawlers like, Byron and of course the other longer range brawlers who have more range from her. But if you can get her turret down and in a safe spot, that mortar will just deal constant pressure to the other team. And with her Captain's Compass gadget, it provides a lot of value and protection if somebody comes to try to charge you up close. And for some general advice here in Bounty, of course, always play a little more conservatively. You don't want to go too aggro and give up those stars that you're trying to get and give the other team more than you're going to get from them. Now, of course, if you do team wipe them, this is a great map where you can really spawn trap the other team, especially with those double throwers, because there's only two small choke points that they can walk through, and you can cover those really well with those brawlers. Now, for some brawlers you do not want to play on this map, brawlers like Shelly, Lou, and Rico, probably not the best picks. Now, Shelly can work if the other team goes Poco Double Tank, but you're hoping for a certain comp, not a smart play, so stay away from Shelly, Lou, and Rico. And with that, hopefully you get 15 wins in this challenge. Now, if you don't get it, don't be too discouraged because this one is going to be a lot tougher to win than before. You don't get as many losses, and the competition, everybody's just getting more and more familiar with these challenges, so the competition will be stiff. Now, one small last tip here is that probably to give your best chance of winning, if you just got like an average team, to play immediately whenever the challenge opens up. You're going to have tons of people playing, a lot of people that probably aren't as good as you, so that you'll be facing less competition, or at the very end right before it ends, because all the good players will probably have won it already, and so this gives you an option to win it again at the end when the competition's not as fierce as it's going to be. Anyway, so that's going to wrap it up for the picks. Hopefully this helps you get as far as you possibly can in this championship challenge. I wish you all the very best of luck. My fingers are crossed for you. Hopefully you get all 15 wins, and if not, at least you're going to get some cool rewards along the way. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful, or at least a little entertaining. If you did, be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. And as always, until next time, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace out.